Hello, so today I am doing a video on Waco.
I'm gonna go check on Wayne. Go. You okay? You go? Okay. I'll be right back.
And the assassination of Gianni Versace, or Versace as you say, Versace.
Good morning.
Good morning, Johnny.
Hi, W. Christie and Diane.
So anyways, that is the review I'm doing today of the 2018 miniseries so far. And firstly, I want to say that I am so sad that these two have ended, because the thing is, now my expectations are up here for the rest of 2018, and I know the rest of the shows this year are probably going to be steaming loads of trash, and I just gotta have to deal. Now, firstly, I want to say the reason I'm doing them together is because in a way, in my opinion, they're kind of connected in a way. So they're kind of connected in a way because one stars Taylor Kitsch and one stars Darren Criss, and the assassination of Gianni Versace was directed by Ryan Murphy, and the 8th episode was directed by Matt Bomer. Matt Bomer was in a movie with Taylor Kitsch, and Ryan Murphy directed that movie, and Finn Wittrock, however you say his name, who played Jeff Trail in the assassination of Gianni Versace, was in the movie with Taylor Kitsch, Matt Bomer, and Mark Ruffalo that Ryan Murphy directed, which is a 10 out of 10 good quality movie that everybody should see.
I told you not to tell him. Sorry. Already afraid to kiss me?
That's not true.
It's okay. I'm afraid to let you.
Okay, so first I'm going to do my little review of Waco, then I'm going to do my review of the assassination of Gianni Versace, and then I'm going to get into my thoughts on it, coming from me as a forensic science student, and how I feel about that and why I think some things are shady in both cases. So basically, since it came out first, I want to review Waco first. Now, I remember seeing the trailers for Waco, I think it was last year at like Halloween time, and I remember when I first seen the trailers, I was so shocked because the thing is, at first I didn't realize it was Taylor Kitsch. I was like, he looks like him? Because I always skip ads on YouTube, and I was getting ready to skip the ad until I seen, and I was like, is that Taylor Kitsch? So I clicked on it, and I was like, what the? And I was so shocked because he was so bony, and you know, if you know Taylor Kitsch, he's not usually all bony. So
You can't seriously be considering this.
What other choice do I have?
Don't marry him.
Give me a reason not to. Will you stay and fight for helium? Will you stay?
So at first I was all shocked, and then I was looking at it and I was like, oh, this seems like it's gonna be a good show. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll watch it when it comes out. Finally getting around to watching it, because I forgot to watch it when it came out, and I was like, dang it, I forgot to watch it. Now, when Waco is first opening, it does the same thing that the assassination of Gianni Versace does, because it starts at the ending and then goes backwards. Now, what I liked about Waco was that it kind of sort of got to the main point of the story, which was the standoff between David Koresh and the police. But what I didn't like about it was I think it kind of skipped a lot. And I feel like it could have been, this story, the David Koresh story, I feel like could have been in like 10 parts or 12 parts, because I feel like a lot of stuff was cut out so it could be 6 parts, and it was way shorter than it could have been. And so basically that's my whole here about Waco. But besides that, it was 10 out of 10. So anyways, when it's first opening, we see David Koresh, and we see all the people running past him, and we see he's like, don't do anything to the police, don't say anything, I'm just going to walk outside, I'm just going to talk to them.
Listen up. No one do anything stupid. I'm going to go out there, talk to them, work this out, all right? Go on.
And he walks outside, and of course he gets shot, and then it goes back in reverse. And I forget who we see first, but I think we see Michael Shannon first. I think we see him first, because he plays the FBI negotiator in this story.
The real key is to listen. I mean, you got to think. If someone's talking to an FBI negotiator, they're having the worst day of their lives.
And I said, if anybody has ever seen the movie Young Ones, which you should see, which is a Michael Shannon movie, it's a really, really good movie. And if you haven't seen most of his movies, you should see them because they're good. So anyways, he plays the FBI negotiator. And while this is going on, while the David Koresh thing is going on, we see that the FBI has done a negotiation with these other people and this other man that's supposed to be a cult leader or whatever. And that went badly because they shot his wife and his kids got shot and all that stuff. And Michael Shannon's character basically finally starts to realize how corrupt the police really are, because the police officer that caused the other man to get shot and all his kids and his wife and all of them to get shot and set him up, actually, because they told him if he came outside they wouldn't do anything to him, but they did shoot him and they beat him up and took him to jail, whatever. And they killed his wife, like I said. He was like, that's so wrong. The police should be charged for misconduct or whatever. And because he's a part of the FBI, of course they're not going to charge their own people. Like, what? What? You're asking the police to hold the police accountable for police brutality? I think no. I think not. So basically he started to realize the police were a little bit corrupt and he didn't like it. So eventually, going along in the story, we get to John Leguizamo. And in this he plays, I guess, a what's it called? A decoy, I guess you could call him, an FBI decoy, and he's sent in to infiltrate the pack. He's sent in to infiltrate David Koresh and his people, and he's supposed to be making friends with them so that they can eventually negotiate the freedom of the people that are inside the thing.
So what you reading there?
You know what I'm reading. A bunch of lies.
Now the thing is, when I first heard about the David Koresh story, it makes it seem like they make it seem like he killed somebody or like he stabbed somebody or he did something to somebody. But we do realize he didn't actually do anything to anybody. Like, and then I'm like, why did they go after him if he didn't do anything to anybody? And the thing that's shady is, yeah, you can say it was the child abuse, blah, 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 blah. But the thing is, the FBI or the police kept changing their story, because first they said they wanted to get him for illegal weapons or whatever. Then they said it was polygamy. Then they said somebody accused him of abusing children. So I said they need to pick one. And then they accused him of having hostages. So I said they need to pick one. Because I'm pretty sure starting a cult or starting a church group and living in the middle of nowhere is not really a crime. I'm not sure on all that, but I don't think it's a crime, really. I mean, anyways, that's why I think it's shady, because what? It's like so confusing, because it's like, so what did he do when you're watching the story? And you're thinking, what did he even do for all this stuff to happen? So anyways, we see John Leguizamo, and while that's going on, this is before things got bad with David Koresh and the FBI. We see that he goes to bars and stuff, and he sings and he performs. And I said the funny thing is, on with Taylor Kitsch, you can see that he was just waiting for this whole moment, his whole life, to play a character where he gets to sing, because it's just like, I'm laughing because he was just doing the most, and you can see that he wanted to sing his whole time. So anyways, we see that he likes to sing whatever, and he meets this boy called Thibodeau, and he starts talking to him, and I said, see, that's how he got so many people to join his little church, because I think a lot of people don't understand, especially if you're outside looking in, or if you're not from America, or you're not from like the West of America. I don't think you would really understand that that's really how it is. As far as church people go, they always come up to you, they always talk to you, they always say, hey, this and this and this. If you come with us, we'll give you a purpose. I believe in Jesus. I believe in this and this and this. I believe in all things. I believe in a lot of different religions, and I believe in a lot of stuff that has to do with religion. But I think church people sometimes take it too far, because that's when they create the cult sheeple mentality. Because first it starts out normal, But then they turn it into cult-like mentality when they say, if you don't do this, Jesus is going to do this, or if you don't do this, then I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this. That's when it becomes harmful, I guess you could say, because the whole concept of church and all that is fine, perfectly fine, whatever, but it's just the way he went about it, the way David Koresh went about it, that I think made people think he was shady, because he wanted all these people to live with him, and he was like, we all live together, and he had 500 wives, and he had 400 kids, whatever, which, like I said, is actually not shocking, because a lot of church people, polygamy things, do that type of thing. Like, it's not shocking, like I said. So anyways, we see he gets Thibodeau to join his little, I don't know what you call it, collective, I guess you could say, his little church collective.
When I was a kid, I couldn't read too hot. I stuttered. And one day, my mama comes over and she says, I'm gonna put you in a class for special kids. And I'm like, wow, this is great. And I go to class and it is great. Finally, no kids picking on me anymore. Recess comes up, I walk outside, this kid comes over and he shouts, hey, look, here come all the retards.
And we see him talking, telling speeches to people, whatever. And eventually, Thibodeau meets this girl at the camp with David Koresh. And he decides that he wants to, well, he doesn't decide, but they, in order to get rid of the charges on David Koresh, because they were going to charge him for being a pedophile or whatever, or charge him for marrying an underage girl, they told Thibodeau to marry this girl. So he marries her. Well, no, he doesn't marry her, but I mean, did he marry her? I think he marries her. Either way, Thibodeau and this girl become a thing, and we see basically how we get to know how the people in the community with David Koresh live. While all this is going on, we still see sometimes John Leguizamo sees them, and sometimes he comes in, and sometimes he listens to what they have to say, sometimes he talks to them, whatever. And I'm skipping some because I don't want to be here for 400 years, because I always do that. I always say I'm going to make it short, but then I talk for 663 years. So we see John Leguizamo, and the police are eventually like, okay, we need to negotiate something with him. Oh yeah, so they were like, what were they saying? I forget what the FBI wanted. I mean, I forget what the ATF wanted, but the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Bureau of Alcohol, Firearms, and Tobacco. I forget what they wanted, but they were going in to attack David Koresh. And John Leguizamo's character, I forget his name, but he was like their friend now. He became their friend. So they were like, are they coming after us, whatever. So he ran outside because he knew that the ATF was coming after David Koresh and his people. And he was like, no, stop. Oh my gosh, don't do this. They know you're coming. They know that you're planning to attack the compound. Don't do this. But they didn't care about him. They basically ran him over, and they went over there.
Stop! They know you're coming! They know you're coming! Stop!
And started a riot. And now here's the thing. Here's where it becomes shady. Because the police claim, to this day, they claim that David Koresh and his people shot first. And now here's my thing that's suspicious. Because the police always say, we just want to talk. And I said, if you just want to talk, then why'd you show up with all these guns and whatnot? Like, and I feel like the police shot first because why else would all the bullet holes, and this is where the forensic science thing comes into play, because all the bullet holes, in my opinion, look like they went in that way versus going out that way, because there's a difference in how they look. You know what I mean? And of course there's no up-close zoomed-in pictures of it, but I'm just saying from the way you look at it, it looks like they went like that and not like that, because if the bullet went out from David Koresh's people's side, the, like, wooden stuff from the door would be out that way, like facing outside, not facing inside. So that's what makes the police extra triply shady. Plus, like I said, why'd they bring these special forces police if they weren't planning to do anything other than talk? So basically that's when he decides, okay, now basically he decides it's on, the police are against us, it's us against the world. So he gets his little group of people and tells them that now they can't go outside, they can't do this, they can't do that, because the police are after them. And this is when the standoff starts. And he is in the little compound, and they stay in there for so many days because they refuse to go outside. because obviously the police are going to attack them if they go outside. Whether they claim that they weren't going to attack them or not, they were going to attack them. So this is really where Michael Shannon's character comes into the forefront, because he's an FBI negotiator. So he talks to David Koresh, whatever. And we see as the days go on and on and on, progressively, they get a few people to come out, but not as much as they would like. And we can see that the other FBI agent people are getting agitated and are like, come on, this man needs to hurry up. This is so stupid. He needs to hurry up and come outside. And I said, that is their biggest problem. They have no patience and they don't know how to talk to people. And if they were just there to talk, they wouldn't have employed all these tactics that they were using on David Koresh and his people. And while this standoff is going on, we can see Thibodeau's mom, because she had eventually came down there and she was trying to talk this whole time, and I'm skipping some, but this whole time she was trying to talk to her son, but they kept refusing to let her talk to her son. And she actually met up with David Koresh's mom, or at least that's what the miniseries says. But I said, if either of their moms had gotten to talk to them, maybe, just maybe, all of those people in there would still be alive. Maybe David Koresh would have came outside if they would have let him talk to his mom. I mean, the world will never know because the police went and ruined that opportunity, but maybe if his mom would have came in there, then she could have talked to her son and talked him out of coming outside. So now I'm skipping onto when they finally blow up the compound or whatever. So the thing that makes the police shady is they claim they used non-lethal gas, whatever. But my question is, why did they have these like military style tanks if they were going to use non-lethal methods? When in reality, they went in there and they sprayed those people like they were some roaches and they just had the world's biggest can of Raid. Like, no. They treated them like they were prisoners at Auschwitz. That's how they treated them. And they just sprayed all these people. Knowing they had babies, knowing they had wives, and they say it was non-lethal gas, but if it was non-lethal gas, why would it explode? And then on top of that, I said, if they wanted the people to come out, why did they basically bulldoze the house? Like, if they wanted them to come out, they shouldn't have blocked off all their exit strategy points, because they bulldozed this house. And I said there was no way any of these people could have came outside because the door is broken now. The whole house is broken. So where are they going to go? They can't even climb on the roof because the house is collapsing in on itself because they bulldozed the whole house. I said if they really wanted them to come outside, they have other ways. I mean, they could have got a helicopter and took the roof off and then went down there and extracted people one by one, and they could have sent in a man with a little rappel rope thingy, but they didn't do that. They just fling these smoke bombs at them, and obviously that causes problems. And I'm saying they knew they didn't have electricity, and they knew they were probably using a generator, because obviously they would know because they had power and the police cut their power. So how else would they have power? And I'm thinking that maybe one of the smoke bombs went downstairs to where their generator was, and that's what caused the fire. So it's kind of the police's fault, because maybe one of the bombs or one of the some metal from one of the bombs hit the generator, and that's what caused the spark and started the fire. But despite that, nobody will ever really know what really happened in there. But I just don't believe that all those people in there would have thoroughly, fully agreed to having the house burned down and been like, oh, well, we have no option but to burn this house down. I don't believe that. I will never believe that, because I think, who on earth wants to burn? Like, what? I don't think anybody in there wanted to burn. I think they just knew there was no other chance, so they were like, oh, well. And everybody in there probably died from smoke inhalation, because it only takes a few seconds for the fire to get into your lungs and whatnot, which is why a lot of people don't realize that running and stuff actually makes it worse, because you're losing oxygen as you run. But the ending is just like really tragic. So basically that's the ending of Waco. They all tragically die in a fire, and I'm not saying that with any type of anything, because I know that's the thing that people like to say, but this was actually, these people actually died in a fire, and it was actually really horrible. because now they'll never get to say what happened, and nobody even believes the people that made it out that they were free to leave whenever they wanted, and nobody believes them that David Koresh didn't start the fire, whatever. Now, what I'm saying is shady is the fact that they don't have any reports from an arson team or any reports from a forensics team determining the point of the fire, because they teach you this. There is a way to determine where a fire started in a house. But I said, where is that? In this case, where is the arson team that came in and said the fire started here, this exit point, that exit point, whatever. And I'm saying they're also shady in the beginning because the tapes went missing. And I said, if you had nothing to hide, why is it when the police do something shady, the tapes always go missing? And I said, that automatically makes them shady, because if they weren't shady, the tapes would still be here, I think, for everybody to view, right? So that just makes them extra shady. And that story was just like, it was just depressing. I was like, oh. Even though everybody in it was a good actor. So, if not for the story of David Koresh, the story, but if you like some of the people that are in this, then you can watch it for that. So, I was really watching it because Taylor Kitsch was in it, but then I got into the story, and it was a really, really good story. And I was mad, though, because I watched an interview, and he said what happened at the end, and I'm like, you raggedy spoiler, because I didn't know what happened at the end, and I didn't want it to be spoiled, though I should have known, because before I seen the story, all I've seen, I looked up David Koresh, and if you go on Google, all you'll see is a whole bunch of burned up bodies, and I was just like, whoa. And I was thinking, like I said, that he did that. I was thinking that he burned these people alive, or he killed them, and then he, like, got a flamethrower and torched them all. But no, it was actually the FBI using their military tactics that were banned in World War II on these people. But so basically that is my little mini review of Waco, and that's my mini thoughts on Waco. And if I had to rate Waco, I would give it a 10 out of 10 because it's really good and you should watch it. And it's a good mini series, but like I said, it could have been longer, and I feel like it could have said more, it could have did more, and it could have explored more. But so that's my point on Waco.
FX presents The Assassination of Gianni Versace.
Now to get into the assassination of Gianni Versace. Now, the assassination of Gianni Versace obviously stars Darren Criss, Edgar Ramirez, Penelope Cruz, Ricky Martin. And now, let me just talk about Ricky Martin real quick. The way he was acting, you would have thought he was in this for more longer, but like he was in it for a total of probably 3 minutes. Not that that matters. I'm just saying Ricky Martin wasn't in it that much. And I'm saying he could have been in it more, but they wanted to focus more on Andrew Cunanan more than focusing on Versace and DiMaggio or however you say his boyfriend's name. That's what they wanted to focus on. So in the assassination of Gianni Versace, like I said, this one starts at the end and then goes backwards. So what we see is Gianni having a nice day, whatever. He is with not the pool boy, but like the house boy and his boyfriend. And they're all getting ready to go to tennis, and they're all getting ready to have fun, whatever. We see him eating. He's eating like a fruit plate, whatever. He's eating fresh orange juice. He's having a good time. He's sitting out by the pool. Life is good. We see Andrew Cunanan. And as we can see in the first episode, Andrew Cunanan is obviously a raggedy hobo. And I'm not saying that to be raggedy. He was literally the definition of a raggedy hobo. He was outside looking raggedy. He was drinking some stank soda or something, and he had on these dirty shorts and this raggedy t-shirt because he ran out of money, which we learn later along. But if you'd just seen this, you'd be like, ew, he's just a hobo on the beach. And we see he has this rash on his leg that he probably got from being so dirty, like, ew. Because if you don't wash up for 57 days, of course you're going to have a rash. And then we see, in this episode, we see Gianni go to the store. And we see Andrew Cunanan go to the most dirtiest, dingiest public bathroom I have ever seen in my life. I wanted to stab myself in the eye. I don't even care about what he was doing in there. It's the toilet that made me want to take a fork and go like this to both of my eyes. Because are you serious? Like, my eyes were bleeding. So anyways, after he gets out of this dingy bathroom, the world's worst bathroom, so he comes out and we see Gianni walking back from the store or the concession stand, and we see Andrew Cunanan come up behind him and he just shoots him just like that. And I said, the thing is, I wasn't there. I'm not saying I was. I'm not saying anything in this situation, but I'm saying he should, if this is really what happened, like he was just like yay and nay and just walking around all willy-nilly. If you are that level of fame, you should be looking around you, making sure nobody's following you, whatever, because people do get crazy and people do follow people. And even when I'm just walking up and down the street, I make sure nobody's following me because people have issues and you don't know what people's agenda is. And even if somebody stands too close to me in line, I'll move out of the line. I'll go to a completely different line because you don't know people's agendas. And I said, this show just proves that you cannot trust anybody. But so anyways, that's how the first episode starts. And after that happens in the first episode of Gianni Versace, the assassination of Gianni Versace, we go on to the life of Andrew Cunanan. And I forget what the second episode shows, because I know in one of these episodes we see him with the duct tape, we see him with the scissors and everything, but he doesn't kill anybody yet. So what happens is we see that he is used to living some type of lifestyle. Like, he wants luxury, he wants this and this and this. And he kind of trolled his way into that lifestyle because he was a hobo. But he kind of put himself up there, I guess you could say. And we don't really figure this out until like episode 6 or 7 because they waited so long. And I said, if you actually want to watch this in order, you actually have to watch episode 8 and then go to episode 2 and then watch episode 1 and then watch episode 9. So that's how you have to watch it, from 8 to 2 and then 1 to 9. So that's how you watch the episodes in order. But because it was so out of order, I have a hard time comprehending the story. But basically what happens is, we see him, and eventually he kills somebody. I think the first person he killed was somebody that had, like, a truck. And this man is like a cemetery man, and he kills him, and he takes his truck, I think. I think that's who he kills first. But it might not be who he killed first. He might have killed Lee Miglin first. Not the point. He eventually realizes that the police are onto him, and they realize that he killed people. And basically, I don't know what he thought at this point, but he just begins going crazier and crazier and crazier because he killed so many people. And so, when we get to the episode where he kills Jeff Trail and the other boy whose name I don't remember, we see that he was a creepy hobo this whole time. Like, he was stalking them, literally. And I said the thing that's shady is he was like, I have your gun, or I have your stuff, whatever. And I said, if you took my stuff, you can have it, because you never go somewhere where somebody you know is shady tells you to come and be like, hey, come here because I have this and that, it's yours. Like, one time in school, this girl, I had the original Rainbow Dash My Little Pony, and she took the pacifier that came on it and she put it in the toilet. Like an ass. And I didn't go back for it because why would I? Like, and kids in my class used to do this. They'd be like, come behind the school, come to the recess, whatever. No, I didn't do that. And that's the equivalent, the adult equivalent of what Jeff Trail and the other boy did, because they were being set up because Andrew Cunanan invited them to this apartment where he eventually killed Jeff Trail.
Andrew!
With a hammer. And I was just like, who does this? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, who does this? And this thing is also, the whole thing about Andrew Cunanan is also kind of an American problem that I don't think a lot of people would understand if you're from the outside coming in, because this is truly an American crime, because his issue was though I'm not calling him a victim, he was a victim of society and kind of a consumerist, and he was caught up in consumerism, which is what they teach you in America. They always say you have to be somebody. If you're not known, then you're nobody. If everybody doesn't know your name, then you're a raggedy hobo, blah, 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 blah. If you don't do this, you're not famous, you're this and this and this, and you're just basic. You're whatever. So I can see that he was trying to achieve fame by some way of doing whatever, but his problem was that he was the laziest hobo in the history of lazy hobos, because he was like, oh my god, I don't want to work. Because as we see in later episodes, what was the man's name? Norman, I think, was like, you can go to school, I'll pay for it, this and this and this. And he was like, no, I don't want to do that. I just want more money and I just want to live. And I said, you can't just lull your way through life and not expect to do anything, which is basically what the man told him.
Norman! I mean, the keys don't work, Norman. No, let me in. Norman, baby, let me in.
Boy, if you don't get...
But later, we realized he learned that because his dad did that, and his dad did scams and schemes until he eventually got caught and the FBI was banging on their door, so he had to run away and went back to his country. And I was like, really? His dad is the shadiest hobo in history. But not the point. So skipping along, he eventually kills all these people, and we eventually get to the standoff between Andrew Cunanan and the police. And here's where I find it to be so shady, okay? Because in the last episode, obviously, we have Andrew Cunanan, and they say that he committed suicide or he killed himself, something like that. The thing I find shady is, if you watch the video that one of the people that worked for the police filmed inside of the house with Andrew Cunanan, if you watch the real video, and I don't mean the show, because there's a real video that they filmed on that day, and if you look at the pictures, this is so weird considering it's supposed to be like a gunshot wound victim. The police may have done something and then turned it around and said that he shot himself, because it just doesn't look right. And like I said, this is where my whole forensic science comes into it, because they tell you about the different blood patterns, and when blood is really like sprayed out like it is on Andrew Cunanan, because it's all across his chin, all across his cheek, and it's just all coagulated in one spot, which is not typical for a gunshot, because blood would be literally everywhere, and on Andrew Cunanan there's just blood in one spot, which is typical if you were beaten or something happened to you. Which makes me think, maybe one of the police officers came in there and they either beat him or they choked him until he started asphyxiating or something, and then they were like, oh dang it, we killed him. Let's put him on the bed and give him the gun and make it look like he killed himself. And the thing that's shady is where the bullet is, even though I guess they're claiming he shot out a whole bunch of different things, but why is there just one singular bullet in the room on the floor way over there? If he shot himself in the cheek, I don't think the bullet would be way by the nightstand next to the closet on the floor, perfectly clean and untouched. And it didn't look like it was a used bullet, because they show you what used bullets look like, and they're burned a little bit, and the tip is like that. And it looks like somebody just took a bullet out of the cartridge, flinged it on the floor, and said, there we go. And another thing I find shady about it is, why did they take so long to move his body? And I understand that they have to get in all the different teams. They have to get in the medical team. They have to get in the forensics team. They have to get in the coroner. They have to get into the medical examiner. They have to get in all these people. I understand that completely. But why did they just let this random hobo walk around and film the whole house, which is evidence tampering? And it's also shady because the video is like 2 minutes long, but this person walks all the way up and down the house and just casually walks past his body as if it's just an everyday occurrence. It's like, and I'm like, do you not see that body right there? That is shady. I'm just saying. And because there's like another picture of Andrew Cunanan, so I'm like, did they move him off the bed, or was he on the floor and then they put him on the bed? Because that would be shady. And my whole theory is, quite possibly, I think that maybe Andrew Cunanan was alive for a few hours. but the police probably let him bleed to death because they didn't want to deal with it, is what I'm thinking. If he did shoot himself, that's my theory. And my other theory is, if he didn't shoot himself, then the police did something and then staged the whole suicide shot because it looks shady. And the thing is, why is there only one picture is all I'm saying. That is my thoughts and opinions on the assassination of Gianni Versace for the visuals alone, because if anybody knows how to do visuals, it's Ryan Murphy, because his movies and shows have 10 out of 10 visuals. They're really, really good. And he's good at doing decades and eras. He's good at going back in time. And I said, obviously, his favorite musical era is the 80s, because in every single one of his movies and shows, there's songs from the 80s. And that's what I love about it. The songs. So, the assassination of Gianni Versace, I would give a 6 out of 10, only because I feel like the Gianni Versace side of the story could have been explored a little bit more, and the part with his boyfriend, with Ricky Martin, could have been explored a little bit more. And even though I know it's about Andrew Cunanan, but I mean, they call it the assassination of Gianni Versace, and we got a total of 2 minutes of so-called Gianni Versace. But okay then, that's on them. So, but in the end, if I had to do a combined, if they were a combined series, I would give them a 9 out of 10, because they're really good, and you should watch them, because they're good to watch, and you can watch them back to back to back. Unless this type of stuff is depressing to you, then don't watch them back to back to back. Watch one episode, watch something happy, episode happy, episode happy, episode happy. So that's my thoughts and opinions on Waco and the assassination of Gianni Versace. So I thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.